on this. I'm looking at Eagles -4. This person on Twitter said, Lizard Brain bet of the week is Eagles -4. Rams are feisty. Oh, there you go, Tim. Nice job. The Rams are feisty, but Stanford's is banged up, and they're still starting 12 rookies. I can't read, and I also already took the Rams +4.5. Stuckey, are you a better reader than I am, and do they need to mix in water?
Yeah, well, hopefully you can get your ad reads right eventually, and just saying words. But once again, the biggest person that must mix in water, just like every week, and even on the weekend when you were visiting me this past weekend, you need to mix in water. This person, do they need to mix in water? Maybe. Maybe they're getting the weekend started a little bit too early because there's just a lot of uncertainty with this game. I agree that Philly looks a little vulnerable. The offense, the passing offense in particular, DeAndre Swift looks great. Just doesn't look that crisp. The league is adjusted to what Philly wants to do. Philly must counter back. The defense also has been disappointing. I also have just like the play calling in general on both ends. And, we were seeing what a wonderful job that, Steichen and Gannon are doing as assistants elsewhere. But how healthy is Stafford? Is Kupp going to come back too? That offense, and how healthy would Kupp be? Because I can imagine that offense, which has looked way better than anyone thought, because Stafford looked, he has looked healthy, and he looks like his prime self, and he's been playing so well. But if he's not fully healthy, then all of a sudden it gets really troublesome for a Rams defense that's still not great, a Rams offensive line that's still not great going up against this defensive front. But if you have a healthy Stafford, I need to throw Kupp back in the mix. We'll see how healthy he is and if he's able to go. I know he's pushing to go. Then all of a sudden, I think the Rams are live, but a lot of uncertainty here. So maybe you're getting the weekend started a little bit too early. I'd wait a little bit, at least get some injury reports till later in the week, because this line's sitting, it's not like an urgent range of where it's at.
Raybon,
all right, so we have.
Oh, my bad, Maria. Raybon, we got to get this guy involved here. Raybon, what say you?
You got to mix in the water. I'm not laying 4.5 on the road with a Philly team that just hasn't looked great. I do think that you want to, if you're trying to back the Rams, be careful, because we've seen with these quarterback injuries, a lot of times they're worse than they let on. So I wouldn't just blindly bet the Rams either. But, 4.5, 4 is somewhat of a key number. 3 is a key number. I just don't think you want to lay 4.5 on the road with an Eagles team that hasn't looked great. Washington gave them a run for their money last week. Now they're going on the road. So, I would say mix in the water. You shouldn't be laying this many points this early in the week. Let's get some injury reports first.
I feel like that was a very reasonable response from you, Raybon. And I was jumping the gun. I was trying to go to our next tweet, which is saying, quote unquote, Tomlin time. So as we know, Steelers, big divisional matchup this weekend against the Ravens, and potentially no Kenny Pickett. But this person seems to be confident in the Steelers still. Did they need to mix in a water, Stuck?
Potentially no Kenny Pickett. As someone who bet the Steelers +4, I hope there's no Kenny Pickett. Mitch Bortles Trubisky is an upgrade over Kenny Pickett. I would prefer for him to throw. I mean, I don't need Kenny Pickett out back there just abandoning the pocket with making horrendous throws in an already horrendously called offense under Matt Canada, who spends his entire week on Twitter replying to people. He needs to mix in the water. Someone calculated on the show. If you remove the Browns games, I'm 78% fading the Ravens on the show on our podcast. But here's the thing: this is autoplay. This is an autoplay. This is Ravens Steelers. Tomlin Harbaugh over a field goal since 2008. When John Harbaugh, so no, he does not have to mix in order. This is a classic rah-rah Tomlin spot. They look dead. They get blown out by the Houston Texans last week. Now they come home. They play a winning team. And look, I'm a Ravens fan. The Ravens are good. They still are dealing with some injuries, even though they're getting some guys back. They played nothing but backup quarterbacks and a rookie quarterback in his first start on the road to start the year. That's it. They've played, and Joe Burrow is basically worse than a backup right now because he can't move. But since 2008, these teams have played 30 times. In those games, 17 have been decided by 3 or less. And here's the best stat of all. When the spread is 3 or more, as it is here, the underdog has gone 17-1-3 against the spread. 17-1-3 against the spread if you just take the team catching a field goal or more in this matchup. The most likely result here in a low-scoring game where you'll get the best effort of Pittsburgh. Ravens by 3 probably, but the Steelers can by 3. This game will most likely be decided by field goal. Happy to take the 4. You do not have to mix in a water, sir.
Raybon, do you feel
keep
more
drinking.
secure? Do you feel more secure
Yeah,
now
I do.
that this public safety thing test is complete and also about this?
I don't feel
this
secure
game?
at all. It's just funny to me how like Stuckey he couldn't get the Ravens last week, so he's just got to dough it down. But no, this is the right spot. No mixing of water. Just keep drinking, get drunk. Like this is the perfect spot. And there's no Kenny Pickett, which is probably an upgrade to be quite honest. So this is a great spot. This is way too reasonable to be on the show. Let's go to the next one.
Wait, out of all the tomfoolery here, you guys gave us a lot of good insight in terms of very strong on that. Anybody other than Kenny Pickett is an upgrade. So, I mean, at least whoever plays instead of him will be not throwing with a glove on their hand. I still don't understand how that works. But anyways, let's move over to Bijan Robinson. 0 touchdowns this year. Highly, hyped rookie season coming out of Texas. This person says, hey, Texans have a pretty good secondary, weaker run defense. 3 units on Bijan to score the first touchdown. I don't know if I would ever throw 3 units on a first touchdown bet. Stuckey, do they need to mix in the water?
Oh, the first touchdown. I thought he was meaning like to score his first touchdown. Like maybe.
I read that wrong again. Yeah, I read that wrong again. Yeah, it's not first touchdown.
Mix in the water. Mix
in the water, man.
I'm done.
Yeah, you have one job. Just you read the tweets that come to us. We have to send out a tweet to get.
It's really half a job because Maria's here picking up the slack for you, so it's really half a job.
Yeah.
Really half a job.
I hate
You're
reading
fired.
out loud. I can't do it.
You might want to.
You really should be fired.
You might want to.
It's literally your job.
Your job is to read out loud. I would. By the way, I would say here, I'm not a prop guy, so I'll kick it to Raybon. But I do like the matchup, and but I don't know. I'm not a prop guy, so Raybon would know. The matchup, yes.
What is it? We don't have any odds. Like, what are the odds? You just giving me Bijan to score a touchdown with no odds? Like,
minus 7 million.
Mixing the water on the outline.
7 million. It's minus 7 million.
Nah, he's
it depends on the odds.
There.
So here's my issue with that. I would say yes, mix in the water if you're talking first touchdown, anytime touchdown. I don't mind it, but I will say this: the Texans haven't been turning the ball over. Desmond Ridder, I just don't know if he can get this team up and down the field. So you might need a breakaway, which Bijan is capable of. But I mean, the more I see Desmond Ridder, the less I want anything to do with the Falcons' offense, and unfortunately, that includes Bijan for now.
Okay, so this is my first time doing this segment with you guys. I think what I learned is out of everyone, Tim needs to mix in a water the most. But before we move on, we want to take a look at the Action app and see sort of what is the biggest public side so far and get your guys' thoughts on it. And this one isn't really surprising, but the Giants at Miami, Dolphins laying 11, and 88% of tickets are on Miami. Raybon, is this justified?
Yes, absolutely.
Listen,
You're a
Giants fan like me.
This is already ruled out. And yeah, I mean, I'm a Giants fan, but first of all, Daniel Jones has regressed. Second of all, Brian Daboll threw a tablet at him. He has no answers. And with Andrew Thomas ruled out, like, it's just this Giant offense, you're going to have to score to beat Miami. So it's like, usually, you want the points, team coming off a blowout, great spot. But like the Dolphins could score in such a hurry that it's just too much of a high scoring game. If this was a lower total game and it was any offense but the Dolphins, maybe. But I mean, the Giants' defense isn't good. The Giants' offense isn't good. So yeah, no, the public doesn't have to mix in the water on this one. The Giants are just out of sorts right now.
Stuckey, you agree?
Yeah, I think. I mean, look, I think the spot and the price is Giants, but I think it's a little inflated. The Dolphins' defense still stinks. We have to remember that now. But who's going to play offensive line for the Giants? And is Saquon going to be back and healthy? Because that's how the Giants would have to win this game. Like, they'd have to run it. They'd have to just move Jones out of the pocket. The offensive line is a disaster. I mean, they got 2 more guys hurt on a quarterback sneak. But the Dolphins are dead last in the NFL in like rushing success. Like, you could just run on them, lean on them. This is a big number to cover. And this is the only time that you really can back Daniel Jones, road underdog. He's 15-5 against the spread as a road underdog. But I don't know how they'll get stops. And then their offensive line is, I assume it's going to be in such shambles that I don't think they're going to be able to keep up. And their defense is all predicated on blitzing, which you can't do against Tua, and then young corners who are going to try and stop this Miami offense. I think the spot, like if you're buying low, selling high, and keeping that principle when betting the NFL, I think that's a good thing. The spot here is the Giants. It feels like you can't bet them. Usually, that probably is going to lead you in the right direction in the NFL, but I can't do it.
I have a quick question.
I don't know. You go, Tim.
I do. It's a good question. It is. So Denver was just – so tell me this. Do you think the Giants or the Broncos are better?
It depends on who's playing for the Giants. Like, they have their offensive line and Barkley. But
pretty even teams, though, no? Like,
yeah.
No, the Giants are better. The Giants are clearly better. Like, the Broncos the Broncos just have bad intangibles. Helps. It's wrong.
That helps. So if Denver was just +6 at Miami a couple weeks ago, and now the Giants go in and they're +11, that adjustment seems just so. It seems so ridiculous. You can't put that much stock into 70 points.
But Tim, that +6 line was off by 44 points.
They lost by 50.
Right.
Now, granted, it's an efficient market, and that's what is closed at. But early in the season, you're going to see some bad lines. Obviously, that line should have been around a touchdown at least. But yeah, the Giants also have some injuries, though, and that's something to look into. It's also a short week for New York after a primetime game on Monday night, going on the road
and coming off a terrible loss.
Yeah, so there's some other factors at play.
The thing that worries me about the Giants is
Waddle didn't play in that game. Armstead didn't play in that game. So the Dolphins are also healthier on offense.
But what worries me about the Giants is, we always kind of looked at them and said, okay, we can at least count on them to be well schemed, well coached. And I don't really know what's going on this year because you had the long rest coming off an 18-point loss to the 49ers. You play Thursday, you have till Monday. You're going against one of the worst defenses in the league, and you literally catapult them into one of the best defenses in the league by giving up 11 sacks, and scoring 3 points. So, I'm just worried. Now you're going to face McDaniel coming off a 28-point loss, who scored 70 the week before. And it's just it's a stay away. I'm not saying away the points, but I'm not. Yeah,
I agree with your sentiment, Tim. It's the price. I only make it 9 something. So the price says you should play the Giants. The spot says but Miami also got blown out, which kind of reduces the spot a little bit, and the Giants are on a short week. But I agree with Raybon also that performance by Dable and that staff, who I had a ton of respect for, and again, it's only a short sample size of one season, was so worrying. That was their season, right? They fell to 1-3. They're at Miami, at the Bills next. Good night. You try again next year, New York. They had it. Had to be their best effort of the year, and you don't move around. Your offensive line sucked. You're not moving around Jones. You're just dropping him back in the pocket. You have a billion special teams blunders and penalties. The team was unprepared. in its biggest game of the season with 7 years to prepare for the game against a bad D, and they looked lost. So, yeah, very disappointing. Big downgrade for the Giants after that game.
Tell me about it. I don't know about laying the 11 for Miami, but there's no way I can bet or back the Giants. I mean, they have 2 touchdowns. Daniel Jones has 2 touchdowns on the year, and they were both in that second half against Arizona in week 2. And with all the injuries you mentioned, like, they can't move the ball. Like, how am I supposed to act like they can even partially keep up with Miami? So, all right. Understandable that the public is backing Miami, but let's talk about Thursday Night Football real quick. This is our last call, and we got a market report here. Washington favored by 5.5, hosting the Bears. 37% of bets, 56% of money is on the Chicago side, 63% of bets, 44% of money on Washington. This is one for me that on the surface kind of feels like Bears to cover, just because coming off of that horrible, loss, they blew a 21-point third quarter lead against a very, very bad team in Denver. Washington only beat the Cardinals by 4 and the Broncos by 2. But this is another situation where there's no way I'm going to bet the Bears. 0-3-1 ATS. Raybon, any thoughts whatsoever on this game?
I mean, I don't want to watch this game. I mean, I do, but I don't. But I would say this: the Bears are the right side. I think, Sam Howell shouldn't be favored by 6 against pretty much anyone. So it's Bears or nothing here. And Justin Fields, for what it's worth, has been throwing the ball well pretty much the last 2 weeks. Even that Chiefs game, with a lot of things going wrong around him, he wasn't really the problem, I thought. So, Howell's turnover prone. Washington just had, coming off a emotional, 3-point loss to Philly in the division. Now it's like a short week. This could be a sleepy spot for Washington. So it's Bears or nothing. I would much rather bet the Bears than the Giants, honestly.
Yeah, much rather bet the Bears, who are 1-10-1 against the spread in their past 12 games. They've lost, I think, 17 straight. Because Justin Fields completed some passes in a 70-point loss to the Chiefs. But I agree, actually. It's the Bears or nothing, but I don't care about this game. Root for today, root for non-baseball sweeps in the wild card round, so we get baseball games tomorrow night. You can also bet Louisiana Tech against Western Kentucky. That's a better game and a better bet. They don't have to worry about streaming and being behind. Bears, Washington. I mean, these are 2 horrendous teams that are going nowhere this year. I'm happy that it's out of the red zone rotation for Sunday. I have no opinion.